Good evening. Welcome to the latest live edition of Last Ball Boxing, sponsored by LW Liftings and SC Travel. Tonight we're joined by regulars Harrison. Good evening, Harrison.
Evening, Carl. You all right?
All good, fella. Thank you. All the way from Sweden, Håkan. How are you doing, Håkan?
I'm good, thank you, and good evening.
Good evening. Celebrity coach has graced us with his presence. Daz, how you going, Daz?
Yeah, I had no else on, so I may as well.
Bit of a different background today. See, you've been kicked into the bedroom by the
my missus is going on a Love Island binge.
I'm sure you're the gaffer. So we won't go no further.
I'll allow it today.
And last but no way least, all the way from the West Midlands, Darren Ashton.
Good evening, Carl. You all right?
Good evening. Good evening. So we're going to make a start with the Estrada versus Bam fight this weekend, guys, and then we'll move on to the small event that's happening September the 21st at Wembley. So, great fight this. Very technical fight, I think it'll be, but one worth waiting up for to the small wee hours of Sunday morning. I'm going to come to celebrity coach Medcar first, because I know he's a fan of the technical side of the game. So, Daz, talk us through this fight, fella, and how you think it's going to play out.
First off, what a fight this is going to be. What a fight this is going to be. I mean, Estrada is top-notch fighter. I mean, he's lost 3 fights, but he's also beaten the fighters who he's lost to. You know, so he's avenged those losses. You know, great fighter. And this is Bam moving up as well, isn't it? Listen, it's just a fantastic fight. It's a brilliant fight. I mean, Bam v Sonny, you know, Bam performed really well. I do think Sonny sort of played into his hands a little bit. It was a bit more aggressive. But, you know, I'm not saying that would have changed the outcome. Bam's a very good fighter. Listen, I wouldn't be surprised to see an Estrada win here. I really wouldn't. So, you know what? I'm going to say it, Estrada on points.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to Håkan. Håkan, give us your breakdown and how you think the fight's going to play
out. First one, I would like to fly out to watch this fight live, but sadly, flight was too expensive to Phoenix from Stockholm with stopovers. So that's how much I love this fight, that I wanted to see it live. And it's a very good undercard card. And for the fight, Estrada Bam, wow. I have only one concern. It's that Estrada has been out for a while. Is it 1.5 years since the last fight? But I think it will be a very good fight, and I think it for me, I think Bam wins on a stoppage round 11.
Okay, thank you very much. Coming to Harrison next. I know you're a fan of the
stoppage late.
Thank you, Håkan. Harrison, I know you're a fan of the technical side of the game, so I'm sure this is one of your favourite kind of fights. Same question to you, fella.
I had a very similar answer to Darren, because in every single sport you have instances where something can't fail. If Federer's playing Nadal, that can't fail. If Mayweather's fighting Pacquiao, that can't fail. There's absolutely no way this fight does anything other than give us something special and something that we should really be holding on to. We've been privileged with this division for the last 5 or 10 years, and you can go back to the likes of Chocolatito Gonzalez, Tristan Forangasai, and Juan Estrada for me has been in that elite, high-end quality, top 10 pound for pound level of fighter way past the last couple of years. He's an utterly exceptional fighter, and the reason that there's so much intrigue here coming off the end of that Chocolatito trilogy is that we all believe that Jesse Bam Rodriguez has also got something very unique and special that he's going to offer. And for me, this is the perfect case of Father Time. Has Estrada still got enough left at this elite level to fend off another one of these young kids? And I think he does. I don't worry too much about Rodriguez coming up another £3 to fight here. I think he carries his power exceptionally well. He will go through the divisions, very similar to how Pacquiao started as a minimum weight and moved his way up. But I think Estrada's technical ability, watch his feet on Saturday night. If you're going to watch anything else, just watch how his ring craftsmanship is exceptional. He moves around the ring like few fighters are able to. His movement, power as well is exceptional. These two are going to stand and whack the absolute out of each other for 12 rounds. You've got to stay up on Saturday nights because this is a very special fight. But I do think Estrada still has enough left to win this on points.
Okay, couple of Estrada predictions here. Coming to you last, Daz. Ashton, same question to you, fella.
Well, like everyone's just said, what a fight this is. It don't get much better than this. And Harrison's right. If you don't stay up to watch this, you'll be sadly disappointed because this is just going to be an absolute brilliant fight. I mean, we're going about Estrada, something like 47 fights he's had. I think this might be his 48th fight. But I do think a bit of a key in this fight could be the inactivity. Like Hakan said, I think he's been out about a year and a half. Obviously, Bam Rodriguez took apart Sonny Edwards completely, really. I didn't really think he would be able to do that, but he did. I mean, we talk about the technical side of this fight. There's some power in that ring as well at the weight they're at. You know, they both can bang. But I do think we're going to go to the cards. And because of the inactivity of Estrada, I think it could play key. I would probably say Bam in a close points decision.
Okay, you think he's going all the way to points?
Yeah.
I think Bam Rodriguez will beat him in round 10. I think it's a little bit fresher. And I think the power will carry. But I think it's going to be one hell of a war. I know I spoke about the technical side of it, but these two are not going to have to go looking for each other either. So, well worth waiting up for this one. Well worth waiting up.
Yeah.
Moving on, guys. So, obviously, press conference yesterday. Wembley has been announced for 21st of September. So, what I thought we'd do, and no doubt we might change our mind on some of these predictions as we get nearer the time. I thought we'd take a waltz through the card in no particular order and have a chat about the fights and how we think it's going to play out. So the first one's an intriguing one. So obviously Chamberlain's a bit of a favourite of Turki Al-Sheikhs. He seems to be getting onto a lot of shows, understandably, because he's very entertaining. So I'm going to come to Harrison first on this one. Harrison, this is an intriguing fight, like a lot of them are on this card. Give us your breakdown and how you think it plays out.
Yeah, well, first of all, like you said, and had it on the graphic there, this is the best card in the history of British boxing by an absolute mile. You have to go back to the 90s and 80s when Chris Eubank Sr. was fighting the Nigel Benn cards. This is a really, really exceptional card, and thank you to His Excellency for bringing it over for part of Riyadh season, just before he blocks me. Yeah, so Josh Padley is very interesting because if you look at the rest of the names on this card, he's obviously the one that we need to find the most out about. And I've been hearing quite a lot of noise. He's a Yorkshire lad. He's been fighting around Leeds, Rotherham, and he's been doing really, really well. He won it might have been a Northern area title pretty recently, might have been a Central. So he's been doing okay at that domestic level, but this is a step up. And like you said there, it's very strange that Mark Chamberlain's kind of come out as this favourite of Turki Al-Sheikhs. I can never really get my head around it, but he has been incredibly impressive in his Saudi Arabia performances, especially last time out with the early stoppage. So there's a lot to like about Mark Chamberlain. I think Josh Padley will test him. I think this is the first time we'll see Chamberlain go 10 or 12 rounds, I think, for the first time in a while, but you'd expect Chamberlain to be way too good for him, especially at the weight.
So what's your prediction now, Harrison? I know we will revisit this.
I'll go Chamberlain on points, I think. I think Padley's good enough to really test him, but then the quality will start to show in the later rounds.
Okay, no problem. Darren Ashton, same question, fella.
Well, to be honest, I didn't really know too much about Josh Padley, but the obvious thing when I've been doing my research is obviously Chamberlain is the puncher in the fight. But, you know, Josh Padley's on this card for a reason. He's undefeated. I've looked at his record and a lot of his fights have mainly been 6-rounders. So this is going to be an all-new territory for him. I would expect Mark Chamberlain probably to get a stoppage, but I do think he will go a lot longer here than what he has been going on the Saudi card. So I'd say round 6 to 8 stoppage with Mark Chamberlain.
Okay, Mr. Medcalf next.
I actually know Josh. Josh is a mate of mine.
There we go.
He's
in keeping with your celebrity status, young man.
No. Listen, I've had fighters sparring. I've known Josh quite a bit. He's a really nice kid. He and his record doesn't show what he's got. He can bang. Josh can punch. He had quite an high KO percentage as an amateur, and I think it's fair to say that when he turned pro, he just thought he could bang all these journeymen out one hit.
Yeah.
So what he were doing is he were looking for one shot, and obviously people have been in 100 fights. They can take the sting out of him. He fought some really good lads, journeymen who know the way around the ring. So, while he's looking for that one big shot, they know what's coming. So it doesn't happen. I mean, he broke one of my old fighters' jaws, who was a middleweight, and Josh was a super feather at the time. The kid can whack. The kid can punch. Listen, I like Mark Chamberlain though. I'm not going to have my friend's head on here. I'm going to do it properly. The smart money says that Chamberlain's gonna win. It says he's the puncher. He probably is the puncher, even though Josh can whack. Chamberlain seems to set his shots up better. Josh has moved camps, I believe. I believe he's gone to Steffi Bulls, or you're in that gym anyway, other day sparring. So maybe they're going to get him to try and set his power shots up, which is what he should really do. Can he do that in this fight? I mean, it's an hell of a fight to try and test that, that theory. Listen, I think he's gonna pose a few problems. And I hope he does pull it off. But I think Mark will probably wear him down late, to be fair.
Daz, from a business perspective, the business side of boxing, and they don't overly get involved, but you know how it plays out. When Eddie Hearn says this is life-changing, A, money, and B, life-changing opportunity, he ain't blowing smoke in this instance. It really is, isn't it?
Oh, massively. I mean, can you imagine if Josh pulls this off? I mean, to be fair, if I'm honest, I think that although Josh is undefeated, he's not really campaigned in limelight that Mark has up to now. So maybe Mark's got a bit more to lose than what Josh has.
And
maybe this is a free shot.
Yeah, it must give all them fighters in and around that sort of level the hope that Spencer Brown may be on the end of the phone one day. Because
listen, there's no doubt, mate, right, that they've looked at Josh's record. They've undefeated kid, a good talker, decent social media following. It's a good opponent for Mark to look good against. He's beaten unbeaten fighters. That's what they want, but. The thing was as well, Mark Chamberlain looked absolutely massive at the face-to-face. And I think he said on social media he's enjoyed the all-inclusive on his holiday. Fair enough. He's got plenty of time.
Well, it's not too different. It's not too different to Mark Chamberlain, where, let's have it right, his purses wouldn't have been massive before getting on these shows either, would that?
No, definitely not. No, definitely not. And you know what? Josh can his stock can only rise.
Yeah.
No matter what, to be fair. I think it's one of them situations, but I do think that Mark will probably stop him late on.
It gives Josh Hadley a great incentive to want to come out and give the best performance as well, because even if he loses, but say he goes 10 rounds and loses a close points decision, because of the center of this card and how broadcast it is going to be globally, it's an opportunity for him to get himself on more shows as well. He really needs to. He doesn't want to. He doesn't want to go in there and just get whacked for 10 rounds. He's got to give it, and and that's why
He's a good fighter, mate. I think he won national titles as an amateur. And like I say, he was knocking people cold as an amateur with head guards on. He can punch. He's not for me gone about it right way as a pro. He was a bit too eager. For as soon as I land, they're going over. These guys who've had 100 fights know the way around the ring. You know,
and that's one for me before I go to Orkan, Daz. This is to anybody. One thing about Turki Al Sheikh, if you entertain him, is likely to get you back onto a card in the future, right? So, you know, the wheels is lobster, isn't it?
It is, mate. Yeah.
Okay, thanks for being patient, Orkan. Coming to you, give us your breakdown of how you think this fight pans out.
I haven't watched Padley. I haven't watched any fight with him, so I don't have the very good intel on him. But Chamberlain, I have been very impressed with. With what I've seen with Chamberlain, I think he wins, but on a late stoppage. And regarding the card, I have mixed feelings about this card. I was hoping for a more international card, not just the UK card. And I was hoping for some international heavyweights on the card. But the UK fights are great on the card. But I just hope for more an international card like the other Riyadh season cards has been.
Okay, fair. It's a fair point. Orkan, I don't agree with it being a UK lad, but it's a fair point. Okay, moving on to the next one. Very intriguing. Very, very intriguing. So, Josh Buatsi versus Willie Hutchinson. I'm warming to Willie Hutchinson. And I think he might be a little bit better than I gave him credit for. So, I'm looking at Darren Ashton. So, Darren, give us your thoughts on this fight and how you think it plays out.
Well, to be honest with you, from what we've seen, Joshua Buatsi, he's not the guy that's going to make this fight exciting. I think Willie Hutchinson is. We've already seen in the build-up, there's a fair bit of needle just because of Willie Hutchinson being the madman that he is, like trying to interrogate, trying to work Buatsi up, playing the mind games that he does. It's clearly a tactic what he's doing, like he done with Spider Richards in the last fight. Obviously, this is a massive step up again for Willie Hutchinson. I think it's a very, very hard one to call because you would say with who Buatsi has been in the ring with, you'd have to favour him as regards winning the fight. But we just don't know with how good Willie Hutchinson is now. I mean, did he beat a sort of like faded Spider Richards? Was he past it? That's the one thing that's sort of like the intriguing thing about this fight is Willie Hutchinson a lot better than what we give him credit for, or was Spider Richards faded? I'm going to say that Hutchinson's going to make the fight very entertaining because I think he's going to take it to Buatsi. But I think Joshua Buatsi is probably just going to have a little bit too much technical ability for him and probably win on points.
Okay, thank you very much. Coming to Mr. Metcalf next. Dad, let me throw a question before we jump into prediction. Often, Buatsi is accused of being too nice and too laid back. Do you think this bit of needle might help Buatsi with that bit of spite that we all think he might need?
No, I think it's just about getting the W. I think if any fight on this card's got potential to be a stinker, it's this one, if I'm honest. And that's probably not so much through Willie's fault as what it's going to, probably the way Josh is going to go about it. I hope it's not. Buatsi's got some tools, got some good tools. But I think if any fight's going to be a bit of a stinker, then I think it's this one. But I fancy Buatsi to win a dull decision, if I'm honest.
Okay, ringing endorsement for that fight there, Daz. Ringing endorsement. I'll go to the bar when this.
I hope I'm wrong. but Boatsi's not exactly ignited, has it?
No. Orkan, coming to you. Same question. Give us your breakdown of the fight.
I think that this fight could be similar to the Boatsi-Aziz fight. And so I think Boatsi wins some points, but I think Hutchinson could do some damage, but not enough. Like Aziz didn't to Boatsi at the Wembley Arena. I was at that show in February this year. So I will go with a Boatsi points decision.
Popular choice, that one. So last but in no way least, Harrison, same question.
Yeah, and there's no real trend buckling here, to be completely honest with you. If Joshua Boatsi's at the absolute top of his game, as he has been in recent fights, then he should be too good. I've loved how well Willie Hutchinson's played himself with this Saudi consortium and how well he did against Craig Richards especially, but then also he's presented himself as a really likable character, like you said, and he is quite an interesting fighter. There is a severe lack of power for a set of light heavyweights here, which kind of angers me, because I feel like when they get to that next step and they've got to go up against the Bivol and Beterbievs of that division and Benavides, etc., they just won't be good enough, is my big fear. I think this is great that it's for an interim title and that the winner gets Beterbiev on paper. We'll see how it plays out. But I think Joshua Boatsi has got a lot of skill, to be fair. He might actually be on that same par of skill with the likes of Beterbiev, but then the power, it's just inexistent, unfortunately. He's scrunching your face there.
Call that.
Have I said something I shouldn't have?
No, go on. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, Harrison. You know that.
I don't know whether he'd be in that. Like, the problem is he'd get in there and he'd be out and around against Beterbiev because he'd take one punch to the chin and he'd be gone. The problem with Boatsi, he's never really been tested. That's my big fear. I wanted to see more from Aziz. I wanted to see more from Richards. I need to see that yard fight before I die. But I just feel like I just haven't had enough of an experience of Boatsi. He's failed at boxer. He has. He's not shone on. He's talked about how if he went to Sky, he'd be a much more profound fighter. His profile hasn't moved.
Flattered to deceive.
His profile hasn't done anything, but that's not. It's half Sky's fault, but then it's also his own. He just hasn't been an exciting fighter, unfortunately. He should be too good for Willie Hutchinson if everything goes to plan. But I agree, this isn't the most exciting fight on a brilliant card.
Okay, thank you very much. Move on to another very intriguing fight, which I was hoping they was going to call Lee Wood's name out after Warrington, but it didn't quite work out that way. So, very, very intriguing fight, this one. So, Orkan, I'll come to you first. Give us your breakdown, how you think this fight plays out.
First one, the Kakashi Tuganunez purse bid was cancelled, and still IBF hasn't approved Kakashi to fight Warrington, so Kakashi could be stripped of the belt. I saw a tweet just an hour ago from Jake Donovan about it. So we have to wait and see if it will be similar to the Opetaya in Saudi for when he fought the fight before the last one. And for a breakdown of the fight, I think it will be a close fight, but what I've seen with Warrington in the last fight, I think he could be good in the early rounds. But I was so impressed with Kakashi at the last fight, so I think Kakashi wins on a late stoppage.
Okay, thank you. Daz Medcalf next. Breakdown, fella.
Yeah, I think Kakashi will be too strong. I think Warrington's on downslide, if I'm honest. His best days are behind him. I think Kakashi were a bit of a revelation against Cordina. I've always thought he was a good fighter, but I can only see Kakashi winning this fight 10th round. stoppage where he just wear him down.
Thank you.
But I think it'll be good while it lasts.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much Warrington's got left, though, Dad. I'm going to be brutally honest. That's my question. The best days are definitely gone. So it'll be interesting to see what he's got left in the tank. Daz Ashton, coming to you. Give us your breakdown.
Well, I think probably this is going to be the ultimate fan-friendly fight on the card because I just don't see how this is going to disappoint, really. I know there's been question marks of people saying about, oh, how does Warrington keep getting his chance? It's simple, really, because he does bring the entertainment with him. He's entertaining in the ring. He goes, he's always in exciting fights, well, the majority of the times. I actually think Anthony Kakachi's been slightly underrated up till now. I mean, no one was expecting to beat Cordina, and he did. And I think he's got a lot more in the tank than what people think. And I don't think Warrington... I think Warrington was impressive against Leewood, like we say, up to so many rounds, and then he did start to fade. But I think Kakachi will have too much for Josh Warrington, but I don't think either man has sort of like got the power to stop each other. I know Kakachi stopped Cordina, but I think he was like, obviously the weight was a problem. I think it'll go the distance, but I think Kakachi, being the fresher man, will be too much for Warrington and probably win on points.
Okay. I believe that's everyone who's covered this fight. So moving on and doing mental arithmetic here.
All right, I didn't want to go.
I thought I left someone out, Harrison. I've just seen if you're awake. Harrison, just give me straight down. Just seeing if you're awake, young man. Just seeing if you're awake.
It's nice to know how valued I am by the last spell boxing community. And,
last but not least, I think I forgot to put in that sentence, Harrison. Let's move it over.
Well, we've got the bad fights, but we've got the boring fights out of the way, right? This is where you start selling your pay-per-view, because this is a brilliant fight. And I've been a fan of Josh Warrington for a very long time. He's an old friend, and it takes a lot for me to like somebody from Leeds, but he is proper. There's just something about him being an old character for a long old while, and I've really enjoyed him being as part of this British boxing scene. And I don't fancy many upsets on the card, but this, for me, this might be one of them, because I feel like the strength of the rest of the division hasn't gone too far. And yeah, Anthony Kakachi was very good last time out, but I still want to see a little bit more from him. And maybe that's me being a little greedy with him, but I just think Josh Warrington might still have enough left, to be honest. He's always really good at the weights. There's never issues there. He always carries himself as a good consummate professional. It's a shame the IBF probably won't be on the line for it, like Hakan said, but I think it's a really good fight, and I think Josh Warrington might just do him on a split decision here.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, before I move on to the next fight, I don't upset any other people, just making sure everyone's gone. I believe everyone has gone with the predictions, yeah? Good,
yeah.
Good.
Did you give yours?
Sorry?
Did you give yours?
Well, as the host, I like to remain impartial. Is that okay, Harrison, or do you want me to give him a prediction?
Get off the fence. Who are you going with?
Yeah, I'm up for the prediction.
There's many things that I can be accused of, Harrison, but sitting on the fence is probably not one of them.
Carl, you're on more fences than Ron Seal.
Behave yourself. Even Metcalf's giving me grief, look.
You're on more fences than Ron Seal, mate, you.
No chance.
Oh, yeah.
No chance. You've been thinking about that one for a while, Dad, haven't you? Congratulations for delivering it.
Googled it.
So I think Kakachi will beat Warrington. I don't think Warrington's got anything left. I know Ashton does. So I'm going for round 5. I think Kakachi will stop him. There you go. Is that okay, Harrison? Happy now?
I disagree, but yeah, I'm glad you're off the fence.
That's what it's all about, right?
Indeed.
Moving on to another shock fight, really. So, Darren Ashton's favourite fighter of all time that he keeps reminding us of, Tyler Denner versus Shiraz.
I won't go that far.
Well, about the only boxer you didn't get a photo with at the weekend, but we'll move on quickly.
I got a nice video where I cheered him on, though, didn't I?
I've seen that as well. I might have to play that on here one time.
The ultimate fanboy.
Maybe Christmas. Bloopers.
All right.
So, coming to Darren Metcalf first. So, Daz, give me your breakdown. This is an intriguing one, but I think I know who you're going to predict wins.
Yeah, you know what? Listen, I think you all know I'm a big, massive fan of Hamza Shiraz. Listen, Tyler Denny deserves it. Deserves this. and seems like a really, really, really nice kid. But I just think Hamza Shiraz is world level. And I can't see Tyler Denny going past 6 rounds with him. I wish I could say different, but I just think Shiraz is a top draw fighter. Denny's, like I said, really nice guy, but it's not a popularity contest. And I just think Shiraz will take him out, win 6.
Okay, Ben Shalom's doing a massive sales pitch on this fight, isn't he? Talking about who Denny's beaten the last 6 fights and hyping it up.
Listen, Tyler Denny deserves this platform.
Yeah,
he deserves this platform. And I tell you what, I'll be totally honest. Listen, I'm a massive fan of Shiraz, and from a boxing point of view, I think he's top draw. But if I'm watching this pay-per-view and Tyler Denny swings one from his ankles and lays Hamza Shiraz clean out, I won't be upset.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's that type of guy that I think, you deserve all the good stuff you get.
Come up the hard way from small old.
Exactly. And, I was one of them. I thought, listen, I still think the best Felix Cash would have been too good, but Tyler Denny can only fight what's in front of him.
Well, it's been a while since we've had any talent from the West Midlands, so it's about time someone's come through, isn't it?
But
on that note, next prediction, Darren Ashton.
Well, the talent's here as well, so
where? I didn't know Orcan had moved to the West Midlands.
Listen, there's some good fighters. There's some good fighters in West Midlands. There's a cruiserweight who we need to keep an eye on called Trey Dubray.
You tell him, Daz.
Watch out. Listen.
I'll watch out for that solitary fighter for the West Midlands. Yeah, watch out for that. Go on, Mr. Ashton.
To be fair, I think that Troy Deeney's going to hold his own in this fight, and I know you're going to think I'm biased here.
Troy Deeney,
really right. Troy Deeney. What am I doing? Tyler Denny.
Gaz's prediction now holds no weight whatsoever.
Can you?
That's definitely.
Are you live? Are you live or are you editing this?
I ain't editing that out. No chance.
I take it
you're gonna actually tweet that as well with the time when I said it, ain't you?
I take it you don't rate Shiraz, Gaz.
What was that? No, sorry.
You don't rate Shiraz, and if you think Troy Deeney's capable of it.
Oh man, you know what? It weren't at the boxing, but the other week someone was talking about the Tyler Denny fight, and I said that to them. Then I said Troy Deeney. I don't know why.
The worst thing is, you're a Villa fan. He's a Birmingham City player. What?
I know. Bad taste in my mouth. That is. I actually think Tyler Denny's going to hold his own quite well in this fight. I mean, I really rate Hamza Shiraz, but I think Tyler Denny's it's not just like how well he's fighting. He's really got the enthusiasm behind him, and I think that goes a long way in the ring as well when you're on the hook like the way he is.
Is he good enough to get on the inside though, Daz? Because he's going to have to get on that inside, or he's going to.
But I do think he's better than what people give him credit for. Tyler Denny, I do. Do I think he's Hamza Shiraz level? No, but I think he will be able to go the distance here, and I think Shiraz will beat him on points. But I think Tyler Denny will do himself a lot of credit in this fight, and he'll come away with a lot of people saying about fair play. How well he does.
Denny gets the points.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not one to endorse gambling, so I'm going to offer you a copy on this. I'll have a copy that says you don't make the final bell.
I'd rather a beer, but we can do a copy.
We can have a beer.
Go on, I'll have a beer with you, Daz, and all. You don't drink the final bell if you want.
I think he will.
Is this a bit where say please drink responsibly as well? Yeah.
Yeah.
In there as well.
Yeah.
And there are other gambling forums available.
Correct.
At least I said Tyler Denny this time, not Troy Deeney.
So Harrison, I'm not sure how you're going to follow that, but over to you.
I'm trying to think of Midlands-related footballers that I can fit in here, but I'm coming up short.
The names are similar, to be fair. Give me credit for that one.
Yeah, we'll let you off
Even
that one.
close. I'm in agreement with you. I think you've got it really spot on that he does deserve this fight. Like, we talk about the Josh Warrington situation, and people will go, that division has to move on. We can't just keep giving him shots, but he gets them because he's entertaining. Tyler Denny's genuinely worked for this, and he really, really deserves an opportunity to be on this bill and probably get a really nice payday as well. Ben Shalom's moved him quite nicely, I think. But I think Hamza Shiraz is, like Daz said, top quality. I actually wrote both of those off. I had Amma Williams and Felix Cash winning those respective fights, but I think now that I've put them both together, Hamza Shiraz has proved me wrong, and I won't let him do it again. I think he's super. I think he's top quality. He's probably fringe level now. The way the middleweight division is too, I think it's quite weak at the top level. So I really do think that he's going to go on and possibly get like a Carlos Adames, who he's put aside for this fight with his mandatory, to get a good payday, set himself up, another big name, good performance. And I think Shiraz, he stops Tyler Denny around 9-10, the same way he did Amma Williams. I won't bet any beers or coffees on it, but I do think he'll win.
Do you think he'll fight Eubank Jr. maybe in the winter in Saudi?
It's so difficult to see why he'd go down that route, because but this was meant to be the Eubank fight. Obviously, Eubank's pulled out at the 11th hour. If that had been the route where he'd gone, we'll have Eubank now at Wembley and make an absolutely crazy bit of money, and then go fight Adames for the world title, that would make more sense. But if he goes and fights Eubank now, you don't know what the situation of that division is going to be like in a year's time. Another star might come from the States, or we might have someone here. Whilst he's got a chance to go and have a genuine chance of winning a world title, I think put that Eubank fight aside. I feel the Eubanks are so frustrating to work with, and they really hold back boxing. And I love them. I think they're both great characters, but they've stalled the division for way too long, and I would far rather see them out the picture and Shiraz go fight for the world title.
Yeah, Hamza Shiraz has got a race against time for me, though. He can't be at middleweight for a long time with that frame.
Yeah, he's a big lad, isn't he?
Okay, thank you, Harrison. Last but no way least, Orkan, give us your thoughts.
I'm so pleased for the last week for Tyler Denny. Last Saturday in Birmingham, when he was the away fighter from Boxer at the Matchroom show and retain his European title, and then get this chance on the Saudi card at Wembley. I have bumped into Tyler Denny a few times. I was at the show a year ago, and then Tyler Denny, when I was at the Boxer show in January in Liverpool, Tyler Denny turned around and said hello to me before I saw it was Tyler. So he recognized me.
Not Daz Ashton, or who knows how he'd have reacted.
So I like Tyler a lot, and I got some connection with him too. So, and he following me on all platforms.
All I would say is that I'm quite happy for him that he's obviously earning life-changing money. Last two paydays would have been good paydays. Because a bit like bad leg, he's come up the hard way. So props.
But for the fight, I think Hamza Shiraz is too good for Tyler. I'm afraid, and I think Hamza Shiraz will stop Tyler in mid rounds 6-7.
Yeah, so I'll give my prediction before Harrison starts crying and Darren says I've got splinters in my backside. So I don't think he makes 6. I think Shiraz is going to take him out round 5. I think it'll be a very one-sided fight. I think Tyler Denny won't be able to get on the inside for me. I think Shiraz should be too good.
Do you think Shiraz will go and beat Adames then for the world title?
Yeah, quite easily as well. If I'm honest, from what I've seen of him, he's not the greatest world champion we've seen as a. And then I'd expect him to vacate and then move up to super middle.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to the next intriguing fight. They just keep coming thick and fast. Liam Smith versus Keller, Josh Keller. So this is quite an intriguing one. Middleweight, Kelly's coming up. They look similar size on the face to face. Actually, Beefy looked a bit fleshy to me, to be honest. But
yeah, he did.
So I'm coming to Harrison first. So Harrison, give it a breakdown. Intriguing fight, proper crossroad fight. This for me.
Crossroads, yeah.
So give us your thoughts.
Crossroads was the word that was in my head when you started talking about these two, because it's such a fascinating affair. This, Josh, don't take it to heart. You're not that good. Josh Kelly, I think it's perfect, really, that he's calm and done swings and roundabouts. And the irony of him being back on a Matchroom show, I find quite funny. And Liam Smith, actually. I think this is so deserved, because there was at that one stage, obviously, where he took that loss against as Avanesian, and that was it. I felt like we weren't talking about him anymore. Matchroom kicked him out, and that was it. But he's done really, really well for himself in these Wasserman shows. I know he's not been beating the highest quality of opponents, but he's been on a bit of a tear up, and he's got himself, a lot of momentum behind him, and I think that really works against the stop momentum of Liam Smith, who obviously split the results against Chris Eubank Jr. He's been out now for a good minute as well, so it's going to be effectively a year since he last fought, which I think is something to take into consideration. I don't know. I feel like Liam Smith might be past his best, and I think that he was not the way that Eubank beat him, but the way he just slowed down quite dramatically in those later rounds really worries me. Father Time's definitely against Liam Smith, and I think Josh Kelly with a bit of youth on his side might cause, I don't know if it would be an upset necessarily, but I think he might just be a bit too good in a sort of evens fight. So I'm going to take Josh Kelly here to do him on points and be good, very good at middleweight as well going forward.
Ken, give us your thoughts.
I think this fight come as a surprise for me for this card. But Liam Smith has been out for nearly a year when the fight is, and like Harrison said, I think he got an early injury in the last fight with Eubank Jr. And that might have had some with the outcome of the fight that Eubank Jr. won the rematch very easily. So I think for me, this fight, I think Josh Kelly might win on a close decision.
Okay. Mr. Medcalf, over to you.
I think it's a good question. What's Liam Smith got left? I think the injury, I know, did he roll his ankle?
He did, yeah.
In the Eubank rematch, but also he apparently injured his back in camp as well, so he couldn't run and stuff like that. I mean, listen, if that's true, and Liam is still at a good level, it's an intriguing fight because we know what we're going to get. Liam's going to tuck up, he's going to catch and counter, he's going to put pressure on. Josh is going to, all flashy moves. I think Josh has got a decent dig on him, to be fair. I could see this fight being a case of who's fresher, and I think that's Josh Kelly. Obvious one is, Beef is a tough kid. Could be points, but listen, he could get bust up. He could ship a lot of shots in this fight. Very awkward, Josh Kelly. So I'll go Josh Kelly, stoppage late.
Dan Ashton.
Well, when I was ringside last Saturday, I spoke to Josh Kelly about.
I didn't know.
Yeah, well, I spoke to Josh Kelly. I actually said to him about was the Liam Smith fight next with the rumours you'd heard, and he confirmed to me it wasn't signed. And I did say to him about how confident I am, and he said he told me he was super confident. I mean, he's another one that's on a good run. I mean, when you look at his last few fights domestically, he went the distance with Troy Williamson, good win. Troy, we know what we get with Troy Williamson. He's absolutely solid. He's granite. So that's a good test that domestically he had. And then he's had some stoppage wins against foreign opponents. The intriguing thing is, if the Eubank rematch didn't happen for Liam Smith and it was just that he'd won that fight, there weren't no rematch, we'd all be saying now that Josh Kelly wouldn't have a chance. It's just, I think we're judging it on the Eubank fight last, when obviously he'd done the injury and he was taken apart. Liam Smith, obviously, has been around the block that long. You do look and think, well, how much has he got left? It's an intriguing clash of styles, this fight, for me. But I think you've got to say that Josh Kelly's the fresher and the one that's more on the up. But it's a tough choice to make, because if Liam Smith, like his dad said, was injured in that last fight, and you just judge him on the fight before, you'd say that Liam Smith would win the fight. I think it is going the distance. And I'd say Josh Kelly, very, very tight on the cards.
Okay, I'll give my prediction. I think Liam Smith's going to win this fight. I think he'll have a bit of spite back. And honestly, Josh Kelly, when he gets to a certain level, actually struggles with the opponents. Evan Easton's a different beast to Liam Smith, don't get me wrong, but I think Evan Easton set a blueprint of how you beat Josh Kelly. I don't buy into this reincarnation of Josh Kelly. He is who he is as a fighter. Liam Smith will probably work the body, won't he? Good body puncher. I think Liam Smith's going to beat him up a little bit, if I'm honest. I think he's got a bit more left than people are giving him credit for, especially with a bit between his teeth. He'll see what the Riyadh season's all about and probably want a bit more of it. So I'm going to go Liam Smith, stoppage around 7-8. I'm not going to give it Andy answer, so I'll go around 8. So I'll go Liam Smith round 8. And the other interesting thing, just stepping aside from Liam Smith, is confirmed that Callum Smith's back in training and that he's not going to retire.
Good
So
to
that's
say.
why he obviously feels like he's got unfinished business at the weight, I'd imagine. So that's good to see. Okay, coming on to the main event. So, answer the most worst kept secret in boxing. If the IBF become available, it was always going to be this fight: Anthony Joshua versus Daniel Dubois. Bit of pantomime yesterday, by all accounts, on the at Wembley, just to sell the fight a bit more. Bags. So I'll come to Darren Medcalf first. So Darren, give us your breakdown. How you think this one pans out?
I think it's a fairly comfortable win for Joshua. I don't think it goes 4.
Really?
If I'm honest. Yeah. Listen, Dubois, he's a live dog, as they say. But look how many right hands he had.
Yeah.
Viljergovic. Do you know what I mean? Listen, you can't. One of them from Joshua's gonna do you. Do you know what I mean? I just think that I'm probably doing him a bit of disservice saying 4. You know, he probably inside 6 maybe, but I've just got the thing where I think if Joshua lands any type of shot that Ergovic landed, that's it. He's in trouble, and he gets stopped. Could happen in first round, but then you look at it and think, as Dubois got a new lease of confidence, is he gonna fancy it? You know, it could be one of them. Dubois. It could be one of them. He's served his dues. He's gathered his experience from the Joyce loss. He's gathered his experience from the Usyk loss, and he's going to end up a better fighter. But then you could also say Joshua's, sort of doing that under Ben Davison. He seems to be a lot more the old Anthony under Ben. So I'm going to stick it. I'm going to say Joshua probably inside 6.
So that guy in the chat bar agreed with you, Daddy. He's going around 6 or 7 to AJ.
So, of course, he agreed with me. I know what I'm on about.
I let it that bit out. Don't worry, Daz. So, Daz, give it your breakdown, fella.
Well, I agree with Daz on the fact of what he said about Dubois. Is he suddenly going to be ultra defensively cautious in this fight, like against Anthony Joshua? Because, against Ergovic, let's be honest, he did eat some big shots. And fair play, he took them well, but we all know he cannot walk into the ring and do that against Anthony Joshua. And can I see a full circle change that he won't eat shots? No, I can't. And then there's Anthony Joshua. You look at it and you think, well, everyone's saying it's the new improved Anthony Joshua under Ben Davison, but is it? You know, he's beat Otto Wallin, which, okay, I made a case for Otto Wallin, but he was very poor. And then he beat Ngannou, who flattered him really with the Tyson Fury fight. But before that, he went against Jermaine Franklin, couldn't put him away. Okay, granite chin, but like his last two fights, I feel have flattered him a little bit. Whereas people are saying, oh, he's new under Ben Davison. Might be so, but I still don't feel he's been tested as such yet. But is Daniel Dubois the man to do that? It's always the case with AJ for me. If Dubois lands, I think he can hurt Joshua, but it's a big if. I think Anthony Joshua will land first and put Dubois away, but there's also a case for me that if Dubois did land a big shot, but I feel you've got to have more than that to beat Joshua. But if he can land that big shot, I think he can hurt AJ. But I just think AJ is going to get to Dubois first and probably stop him within 6.
It can't, for me, Dubois can't be having a jabbing match, trying to jab his way in and all that with Joshua. He can't be standing outside trying to jab his way in and work openings. When this fight was made, I said this has got to be Daniel Dubois' Lennox Lewis v Gallotta moment.
Yeah.
He's got to just Lennox Lewis freely admitted that Andrew Gallotta scared him. You know, he was a scary geezer. And he used right way up to first bell. Lennox Lewis says, I thought he looks like a psychopath. But then he used that fear and just absolutely put it on him and demolished him. Yeah.
The thing is with
I'm not saying Dubois would demolish him. I'm not saying that for 1 minute. But he's got to give himself the best chance of winning. If he stands on outside with Joshua, trying to be in a jabbing match, and he gets caught with that big right hand, which he will, because he's not exactly a defensive genius, and then gets put to sleep, he's going to be kicking himself. You know, to me, he's got to be aggressive. He's got to be aggressive.
I do agree with that. But I think the problem with Dubois is mentally as well. I think he'll have in his head, even though he talks a good game, I think when he comes forward and tries to unload like he does, I think he's going to be worried about what's coming back with AJ. And I think, I think mentally he will. If he gets a couple of rounds in, I just think he's going to struggle mentally. Yeah. I think he talks good now.
Don Charles is well known for supporting his fighters mentally. He's supposedly very good at helping them.
Before I get slated, I'm not for 1 minute comparing Daniel Dubois to Lennox Lewis. You know, but he's got to have that mindset.
I was going to put that another time.
Yeah, I know you were. Yeah, he's got to have that mindset. You know what I mean? Dubois got to have that mindset. He's got to have that seek and destroy mindset. Obviously, listen, don't go in swinging like you're outside a nightclub at 3
Put it on him, right? Put it on him.
You know? Yeah, listen, why not rough him up a little bit? Try and get him out of.
We don't know what AJ is going to be like when he has it on him.
Listen, does it nail on head? He's not been tested yet. He's not been tested. You know what I mean? Yeah. He's not, since he's been under Ben and that. He's not. You know, listen, he's not really fought anybody, has he? Let's be right. This is his best opponent.
Yeah.
You know, since he's been with Ben, he just needs. For me, Dubois has just got to be aggressive. He's got to be aggressive. He can't stand. If he stands off him, it's going to be a quick fight. If he tries to have a jabbing match with him, it's going to be a quick fight.
But let's be honest. That last fight against Hrgovic. Sorry, just quickly. If that was Anthony Joshua landing them shots on Dubois, we wouldn't be talking now. Fair play to Dubois. He come back. He took them well. He'd have been out in 2 rounds.
Yeah. I mean,
that's the thing to look at.
Yeah. Then it wouldn't have gone past first round, I don't think.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
To be fair.
Okay.
It's got to be different defensively.
Yeah. Cheers, Daz. Orkan, give us your breakdown.
I agree with Daz and Daz about this fight. I think Joshua is too much for Dubois, and I think Joshua stops Dubois in round 5.
Round 5. And last but not least, Lise Harrison.
just really fascinating to just listen to everyone, just sit back and take all of that in. And I think there was some really, really good points there made about the way that Dubois has to approach this fight in particular as well. Still, in my opinion, nothing bigger in boxing than an Anthony Joshua fight at Wembley. I just think there's something incredibly special about it, and it's something that gets the nation. The tickets go on sale tomorrow. They'll be out of sale by 12:01. It will sell out in a minute. You've got the 4 biggest promoters in the country all working together to make a show like this, and the funding from Riyadh. You can't really sell it much better than the way it has been, and it's perfect. I think this is an amazing event. It's really nice of Alexander Usyk to let the kids play with the belt as well. That was nice of him.
I forgot to mention that.
Yeah, they'll probably just go straight back to him. It was nice that Dubois got elevated and he's having his 5 minutes, but then it feels very Charles Martin to me, this, where he's going to be a champion for a couple of weeks, and then Anthony Joshua's going to come back, and this is the perfect fight for Joshua to get back onto world scene now. Because we've talked about his opponents and the competitiveness of the fight so far. I was down at both of the O2 shows against Franklin and Hellenius. Not mismatches, I don't think. I think they were the fights he needed. But I'm glad that he's moved off from Derek James to Ben Davison, and we've seen the resurgence of him back at the fighter we want to see. And I want to see Joshua be quite immature and a bit loose and naughty, because that was what made him the fighter he was. He was too complete at one stage. If he gets the opportunity to go back in with Usyk again, I don't want to see him try and outbox Usyk, because we know he can't. I want to see that power resurgence, that sort of immaturity, that looseness about him, and I think he'll have a great chance when he gets there. But we shouldn't be looking past Daniel Dubois either, because Dubois deserves this opportunity to fight at Wembley. But I think he's there to make up the numbers, and maybe that's a little narrow-minded, but I think Joshua's going to walk through him in no more than 3 rounds. I think the second that he lands on Dubois is not really sure. Well, Dubois got a bit of a chin, fair play, but then I think that's the problem. Even his recent fights against Jarrell Miller and Filip Hrgović and Alexander Usyk, the common theme there, and even back to the Joe Joyce fight, he takes way too much punishment. I just think he's so one-dimensional. He's a big hitter. He's a big lad. He's a good heavyweight. He's old school, but I just think he takes way too much damage. And Joshua's power, if it's anything like it used to be when he was fighting Klitschko and Povetkin, they should be a one-punch good night situation for him.
Well, I was just going to say quickly on the point you made there about taking the shots and that and one-dimensional. If you look at the Jarrell Miller fight, really, I mean, Jarrell Miller, we all know he's extremely overweight and he's quite slow. He caught Dubois at times, and he's slow, really. Obviously, he's a big lump and he's slow.
Yeah,
Joshua's a lot quicker than Jarrell Miller, and you look at that and think, well, he landed on Dubois, Jarrell Miller. You just look at them points and you think, how's he going to stay away from Joshua's right hand?
Yeah, people talk about that fight being a really good moment for him, that he got him out of there and it was a good win. I don't think it was that good of a performance personally. I thought it was quite a sluggish fight to watch, and I didn't see anything from Dubois off the back of that Usyk loss that made me think that he was going to be in a position to win a world title. And then I didn't really see it against Hrgović. It was quite unfortunate circumstances. Hrgović might have been in a much better position there, personally. I think Hrgović would have been a much tougher fight for Joshua than Dubois is going to be, personally.
Well, you have a look at...
Hrgović would bang average against Dubois once. AJ would put him away very early as well. One thing about AJ is a very, very good finisher. So,
yeah, he is.
When he gets you hurt. So I think this round, I think Dubois hangs around a bit longer than maybe 3 or 4. I'm going round 6. I think. Go on, Dad.
Do you know my point with heavyweight division is, and I've sort of come to terms with it. It's absolutely awful.
It is.
But it is. Listen, in my opinion, it's absolutely awful. The standard's terrible. You've got Joshua, Usyk, Fury, and then yeah. But even Joshua, Usyk, and Fury, they're probably made to look better than because of what's below them. And yeah, judging them on the 90s and Lennox and everyone, but I've sort of thing to embrace it that no matter whether the standard's not as good as the 90s, we're still going to get excitement.
Yeah,
we're still going to get good fights. Just because they're not at that level that what Lennox was at, Bow and all them. Listen, we're still going to get some good fights. I do think Hrgović was built up to be something that he wasn't.
Yeah, I agree.
But you know, listen, at the end of the day, Dubois deserves to be in there. I think it sells better as well, Dubois v Joshua.
Yeah, it's a
Rather
British
than
thing.
Ergovic and Joshua. You know, I think it's a better sell.
It's all under the fear at Wembley.
Yeah, listen, we know what Turkey Al-Sheik's ideas are when he's sat in dressing room with Joshua after presser or whatever, and he's FaceTiming Tyson Fury.
Yeah.
You know, saying, yeah, you too, you know. So we know that Dubois is just there to, you know, be put flat on his back spectacularly. Do I think he will? Probably. In fact, more than likely. I've just pick a comment. That guy says he definitely needs to pick his moments, Dubois. I don't think he can. I don't think he can do that, if I'm honest. I think if he tries to pick his moments, he's going to get demolished.
He's got to seek and destroy, Daz. He's got to seek and destroy.
Listen, it's a bit of a thingy for me as a trainer to say, oh yeah, I'm not saying just go in and start swinging like a lunatic, but just be aggressive, bit clever, you know. And I'd have thought that's how they'd have sort of trained, you know. He's got to have last word as well in exchanges. He can't. You know, he can't work and then let AJ work back. You know, if AJ works and Dubois works, he's got to work again. You know, it takes some doing it. You know, it takes some fitness in it.
An interesting thing is though, Daz, you can't train a chin, can you? We all know what AJ's chin's like. So if Dubois,
is it bad? I mean,
just got a great chin.
Well, it's vulnerable. It's vulnerable.
I think a great chin's a bit OTT.
No, but
no, I don't think so. Klitschko should have.
Whenever he's got clipped, he stiffens up a bit like Bruno used to.
Yeah, he does.
How many times people were saying Bruno were glass chinned? How many times did you see Bruno asleep on canvas?
3 or 4.
What I said.
Well, out cold.
No, so I mean, how many times did you see Bruno asleep?
No.
Bruno was always stopped, pretty much on his feet.
Yeah, but Tim Witherspoon nearly take his head off, or was it Bone Crusher Smith?
Yeah. Listen, Ronnie, the thing with Bruno were, and I stand by this, he had no idea how to react when hurt.
Yeah,
he was hurt, but rather than be defensive, old, whatever, he'd try and fire back.
You level that at AJ as well, can't you?
Yeah, well, yeah, but it don't mean you've got a bad chin. Do you know what I mean? If you get hit with a shot, I mean, Klitschko hit him, dropped him. You know, he got up. So his chin can't be that bad.
To be fair, though, don't you think? I know, like, obviously Joshua won that. I mean, I was at that fight. It was absolutely brilliant. But don't you think really Klitschko should have finished Joshua off that night?
Klitschko were fake, like, proper past it.
He would have 5 years earlier, Daz, wouldn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
If it was Vitaly would have definitely finished it in his prime.
Definitely.
These guys are like 17 stone plus, and
yeah.
You know, trust me, they hit hard.
Oh, yeah.
And it's,
saying about the size, one thing that I did notice at the press conference yesterday, obviously they've done the head-to-head. You look at it and you think, you know, Dubois looks a bit of a unit of the guy. Joshua looks way bigger than him.
Yeah, Joshua's massive. Yeah,
like Dubois looks a lot smaller than Joshua. And going back onto
believe it or not, I've stood next to them both. I've stood next to Tyson Fury. Tyson's bigger, tall.
Yeah.
And I've stood next to Joshua. Joshua looks like the bigger man. Yeah. He's an absolute presence. He's an absolute presence.
Massive.
Do you know what I mean? I think I don't know where we were at some boxing do, and it's honestly, I was like, he's hard. I mean, he's hard. Listen, I know it's not a bodybuilding contest, but the guy is an absolute unit.
Yeah.
And I mean a unit, and he's.
Yeah, I've seen him at press conferences, Dad. He is absolutely massive.
Yeah. He's he's just monstrous.
Well, you know, when we look back at something like we say, like about Dubois against Jarrell Miller, when you look at that fight, really, and you know, you could tell, obviously, Dubois was ecstatic in the ring because he obviously doubted himself a little bit against Jarrell Miller because everyone was unsure at the time because of previous. But when you look at that, when you look at the likes of Zhang, Caballero, do you think they'd have all done an absolute number on Jarrell Miller? They probably would have.
Yeah.
That's the comparison, really.
Yeah.
Dubois stopped him in the last round, fair play. But when you look at the likes of Caballero coming forward and your Zhangs who are at the end of the career, you'd fancy them to. Let's see how Andy Ruiz does against Jarrell Miller. I fancy Andy Ruiz after a big break to stop Jarrell Miller in 10 rounds.
It depends who turns up, Daz. They're motivated or unmotivated.
They're both disinterested, I think.
He just
for 6 months ago, before Christmas, when Joshua fought Wallin, I didn't have this. I didn't think that Joshua or Fury would fight anymore at Wembley or UK. So I think the turnaround with Riyadh season to have a card in LA and this card in London.
I think it's very clever PR in my opinion. I think Turki Al Sheikh's listened to some of the grumblings that have been taking place amongst UK fight fans and American fight fans. Is my opinion.
Yeah,
I think it's
and so I am very happy for all UK fans that they can go to Wembley on September 21st and go to another awesome Joshua fight.
I wouldn't expect it to be abroad too often, though. Is my honest opinion.
Well, I'll tell you what, though, it's a perfect marketing ploy from Turki Al Sheikh in Saudi Arabia because I promise you now, when everyone goes to buy a ticket for this event tomorrow, not a single person could care less what promotion or what banner it's under. It doesn't matter. So for them to get their name out there, and they'll do their own stuff, and they may well play the Saudi anthem at Wembley, which that might cause controversy. Who knows? I'm sure they probably will. It's their show; they can do what they want. But I agree with you. This isn't a long-term project. I don't think we're going to be seeing Turki Al Sheikh filling Wembley out once a year or filling out the SoFi, wherever it is in LA. I think it is priority to get the name out there, get a bit of trust with the fickle British and American fans, and then you can build Riyadh season off the end of this.
And to be honest, Harrison, he's got no obligation to, has he? Let's be honest.
I wouldn't do it personally. We're not going to. Have you ever seen PBC do a show in London just to impress the London fans? No.
Do you know what it seems like though, Turkey? It just seems like a massive boxing fan with an endless pot of money. Who
wants to see the fights that he wants?
See the fights, yeah, and that can only be good for boxing. I'm not quite sure where women's boxing will lie in it, if I'm honest. Obviously, I've got a bit of a vested interest in women's boxing, but I'm not. You know, that is a bit of a worry, if I'm honest, about it all. And that, you know, that would me. That would me. You know, in the thing come up, I think you guys talked about it not long ago, when he was on about doing a global league thing or something, weren't it?
Yeah, we did.
I just thought, where's women's boxing going to stand in it? You know.
It doesn't have the depth, does it, to do, like, you can't do that league format with women's boxing because there's barely, in some divisions, there barely is 15 or 20 fighters at the weight, so it just won't work.
You know, obviously.
And I think it has, it's not just the Riyadh seasons card that had negative effect on women's boxing. I think this year that the Jonas Mayer rematch was supposed to be on the Sellers Park, and but the deal was all agreed with the teams, but the fight didn't. They couldn't have the fight at that card when that fight that was supposed to be the headline. And so I think it has had more effect than the Riyadh season's card or negative on the women's boxing. We haven't seen those big fights this year after Jonas Mayer in January.
You've got the thing as well where you've got the weigh-ins as well, haven't you? Listen.
With the way they dress like.
Yeah, I mean, Saudis, by all accounts, very, very, very strict. I mean, I've been to Dubai, and that were sort of strict, but apparently, all accounts, Saudi is like, proper strict. And so I just think that, even like you weigh in your Nike sports thong and your Nike sports bra or your lingerie, whichever, is that something that they're going to look at and think, we don't want that here? So then the fights aren't going to happen.
I think that's... Yeah. Off the top of my head, the only woman's fight I can think of was when Ramla Ali had that 4-6 rounder on one of the Saudi shows. Other than that, I can't really recall many fights.
Yeah, she's a Muslim, isn't she?
Yeah. So that,
that's the only female fight that has been in Saudi.
Yeah.
A few years ago.
I mean, you've got, there's some, if Turkey wanted to, I mean, there's some cracking fights he could make, women's wise, but it just, it seems like that, I don't know, it just seems like while this Saudi thing's good for male boxing, it's not really going to benefit women's boxing.
I'll tell you what would have been a good statement from him when the Jake Paul-Mike Tyson fight broke up and Taylor Serrano was sort of left stranded. That would have been a great opportunity for him to have taken that fight on and stuck it on a card out in Riyadh or wherever.
See, that's the sort of thing, Harrison, that worries me. If he's not going to do that, he's not really going to. Listen. If he turns around and says, "Look, we'll put, I don't know, we'll put whoever on, but when you weigh in, you've got to dress appropriate to our custom."
Yeah.
I'm sure that in fact, I'm sure 100% of the female fighters would say, yeah, that's fine.
Ebony Bridges wouldn't be too happy, would she? You'd know.
No, she'd do it, mate. Yeah, she'd do it. I'm sure she would, yeah. Yeah, I'm sure she would.
But Eddie Hearn, for 3-4 months ago, Eddie Hearn was talking about that the first Riyadh season female fight could be Nicholson versus Chapman. But I had been very quiet about
that's what I mean. I can't. It just seems like it's like Harrison has just said there, and that's a massive point. If he's not prepared to put Taylor Serrano 2 on, what's he going to put on? Yeah, but it's like I say. I mean, if he turns around and says to you promoters, listen, you female fighters got to weigh in, and they've got to wear appropriate attire in accordance with our laws, it's how it is, and they agree to that. But then you've got the other aspect of you've got women in shorts and a sports bra punching lumps out of each other.
Yeah.
So where does that stand on the religion?
Very interesting, because obviously they're not going to rock the boat, are they, Daz? Let's be honest.
No, mate, no, they're not. And sometimes to make these massive fights, to make these big fights, you need that money that he brings.
Yep.
It's, I don't know, mate. It's a bit worrying for women's boxing. I mean, I've only got 2 female fighters, but both of them, I believe, are capable. Obviously, one was a world champion and is going to win it again, and I believe Nicola can be. But where's it going to happen? Do you know what I mean? You can't put it on a small all show sort of thing, because there's not the money. You've got your sanctioning fees and everything. I just don't want women's boxing to get left behind, to be fair. Even if I weren't training some female fighters, I wouldn't want it to, because I think it's gone so far.
It'll be interesting to see if somebody does challenge him on his views or on how it's going to play out. It'll be very interesting.
I think if that happens, they're onto a losing battle, because it's religion. It's their religion. There's no way on God's green earth that they are going to compromise anything. I mean, someone, I'm not sure about this today at work, to be fair. last night, because they were on about women's boxing. And I said, I believe, and I might be wrong, but I believe that women are seen as second-class citizens in that sort of religion.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's the man who's above. So I sort of said, I just don't think they'll allow it because of this or other. And one of the lads at work says, well, if they're second-class citizens, then surely they'd enjoy seeing them get beat up. Oh, that's a bit controversial. I says, but no, do you know what I mean? I think it's a case of a woman's, while they're seen as second class, they're respected. They're seen as the mother, the someone's mum. And I don't think seeing them getting
right, Daz. If he had any inclination to put a female fight on, it would be on the US card or the UK card.
Harrison has just hit nail on head, and I didn't think of this, to be fair. And it sort of made up my mind that I don't think he's ever going to have anything to do with female boxing, because he'd have put the Taylor Serrano fight on. Do you know what I mean? I mean, that's guaranteed to be an absolute war.
And it wouldn't have been difficult. It would have been a very easy promotion. The fight was already signed.
Yeah. It would.
Yeah. But that could have been done already. If he can make, look, he made Fury Usyk in about 5 seconds. This wouldn't be an issue for him.
Yeah,
and it's another issue for a lot of the female world champions who comes from countries outside the UK and the big names in the US or some name in Mexico. I'm from Sweden, and we had a few very good female fighters, and Patricia Bergholt, who fought Tasha Jonas 2 years ago. She has hardly had any fight after that because his promoter can't afford. They don't have money, so so she has fought once in 2 years.
And, it's like Dina Torsland. I mean, she's considered the best bantamweight at minute. And there's no sign of any sort of unifications, is there, for her?
Yeah. No, I'm very
lucky though, Akan, that she didn't fight Nick. She's very lucky.
Yeah, I'm very close to Dina's team, and they have sent offers to Matchroom before for some of the Matchroom fighters, but they had been turned down, according to Dina's team. But Dina Torsland get her fights in Denmark very regular. She has fought twice this year. So, but there are other world champions in female boxing that didn't get their fights because the money isn't there. Like Emma Kosin hasn't fought for. She's unified world champion from Slovakia. She hasn't fought since the ranking fight. That's an issue for a lot of the female world champions.
Yeah. It's one to keep an eye on, isn't it, guys? One to keep an eye on. So
100%.
I'm going to bring the show to a close, guys. So Darren Ashton, thank you very much for joining. Harrison, thank you for joining.
Pleasure.
Mr. Medcalf, thank you for joining, fella. Orkan, thank you for joining from Sweden.
Thank you.
I'm at the GBM show at Coventry this weekend, open to get an interview with Peter Fiore. So keep your eye out on the channel for the interview, dropping probably Sunday, Monday. This has been Last Bell Boxing, sponsored by SC Travel and LW Liftings. Same time next Thursday, 7 p.m. Anything you don't agree with, post your comments below. Normally it's Harrison who takes a grief regarding his views, so feel free to keep them coming. Like, comment, subscribe. This has been Last Bell Boxing. See you next week at 7 p.m. on Thursday.
See you later, lads.
Cheers.
See you later.